Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we are continuing the session 0 together with Martin and our new guest who has joined us. It's Anna-Karin Linder. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be invited to this. It's going to be so much fun.
Yes, we're super excited to have you with us, and we would love for you to, as I leave this meeting to you guys, to do your session 0 for the final character that's going to be our core team during the V5 initial campaign. I would love for you to tell me just a little bit about yourself for the listeners, what your relation to perhaps vampire is, and role-playing games in general, if that's fine.
I am a child of the dark 90s. I started out playing Vampire the Masquerade as a role-playing game. I skipped the Mutant or D&D role-playing and went directly into the darkness, the reigning, and the anxiety of Vampire the Masquerade. And I kind of never stopped loving Vampire. I haven't been playing that much for a while now, so I'm very, very psyched to get into role-playing again. I LARP a lot. I also LARP Vampire the Masquerade here in Stockholm. I wrote a book together with Daniel Krauklis a couple of years ago about Swedish role-playing history, so that is kind of my latest legacy to the role-playing world. Otherwise, I work as a game designer in tech.
Wow, amazing. Wow, that's a very, very quick and effective sort of conclusion of everything there. But that's really cool. So we have a hardcore sort of, I was about to say vampire lover. I don't know, that might sound wrong, but yes, completely into the world. That's excellent. And we're going to start sort of doing a sort of soft start campaign so that people don't get overwhelmed by the sort of universe, this sort of immense universe that this game has turned into. But your knowledge of it will prove to be helpful for sure. Okay then, so Martin, I'm going to leave this one to you, and I would love to say enjoy yourselves, guys, and have a nice session 0.
Thank you.
See you soon. Have a good one. So yes, Hjalmar and the guys are a lot of fun, and I think in the podcast universe they struck me as the one that had the most sort of Nordic, deep immersive style that you and I are familiar with. So I thought it made a ton of sense to unite one of my favorite players with some of my favorite podcasters. And so let's see what the result will be.
No pressure, he just branded me as some kind of vampire expert, but that is totally incorrect. I am the worst person with rules. When I was playing in the 90s, I always you do the dots, I do the playing, and I'm a bit better now, but I'm worthless with rules. I know the clans and stuff, but I don't know everything.
I mean, two things. Specifically, you called the out as veteran on the setting, which I think in a lot of things you played with the setting and the clans and the archetypes a lot in irreverent and interesting ways, which is a lot of what we're doing with V5 as well. So I think in that way you are sort of an expert. And also rules-wise, what is more storyteller gaming than a fuck the rules attitude, at least in the Nordic countries. I think a lot of World of Darkness games in the 90s turned into kind of free-forming, at least in Umeå. That's what happened. I don't know what it was like. Where were you playing again?
I think I was playing in New York.
Okay.
But I don't really remember. I just remember that we listened a lot to the Crow soundtrack, and it was a lot of incense, and we actually cried a lot, and it was super emotional, super intense all the time.
Yeah, we had the super intense time also, and we did New York, but it was Cult's New York that we played in.
Yeah.
Because we did Fallen Angels, and then we added sort of the Vampire the Masquerade lore, and the vampire part of it just took over, and we derailed from the main adventure, and it turned more into Vampire the Masquerade. And yes, for sure, there was so much of what ambitions you had as a person, and the bleed was strong. It's what would you do if you became a vampire was sort of the undertone there of the first campaign.
Yeah.
But yes, since then We have done many things, Anna-Karin.
Yeah, we have.
Yes. Yeah, and it was funny. I think it was at Knutpunkt some year when you're like, "Oh, might have to do vampire again." And then now I'm meeting you at Stockholm by Night games. It's amazing. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun, and like since I started LARPing, I LARPed a bit with the vampire LARPs in the 90s, and then I was like, no, it's too clunky, too rule heavy and stuff like that. But right now I have so little time. I'm a single mom. I don't have time and money to go to like these big intense games. I'm broken for days afterwards. So to do this every other week, a couple of hours, not like 5-6 hours, it's so much fun. So I'm like, I became a vampire LARPer in my old days. And I love it so much.
And it's super compact. You're absolutely right. I mean, it requires so little in the terms of preparation and so on. And campaign characters do have that added functionality of being very quick to deploy, because you have the wardrobe, you have the mindset, the accent and the walk, and you can just slot into your soap opera there.
We also play a lot between the games, so I chat roleplay a lot, which we didn't do in the 90s, or I didn't do that at all. Like, I know that people did forum play and stuff, but I love it so much because I can do that when my kid is sleeping, and it also gives me so much pleasure to do that. So because I missed the role playing in my life. Before 10 years ago, I always had a campaign running, but now I don't really have the time. So that is also a reason why I'm super stoked to be invited to this, because I miss this so much.
And just like chat and regular play and so on in Stockholm by Night, and your experience of that, it's like that's technology and social network development facilitating role playing, and in a way that's what we're doing here as well. I mean, I haven't done much voice over IP role playing, but it actually works in some weird way.
I'm interested to see how it will feel. Maybe it will be like, I don't know the guys, I never met them in the flesh, so maybe it will be a bit clunky in the beginning, but like all campaigns are clunky in the beginning when you're trying to find the voice of what are we actually telling, what kind of story is it, la la la.
In parts of setting that tone, I've developed a kind of a prelude format for this first session. So the majority of it is going to be your interview to join a new special operations task force being formed by the merging of several different anti-terrorist and intelligence units in the London police. And you have been called for an interview. So the majority of the session is going to be that interview. It begins simply enough with a phone call too early in the morning. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Where would you be at 6 o'clock, and who would wake you up? Or is it just your phone ringing in the empty morning?
Is it every day or is it weekend?
It is a normal day.
Then Gabrielle Ellis is in her bed, alone. She lives alone. And it's 2 minutes before the clock, her own alarm clock, will ring. So she's almost awake.
It's almost a synchronicity that the phone call comes in 2 minutes just before you were supposed to wake up, in those breathing grey moments that are true rest and true respite for you. Sorry to call you this early.
Yeah, what is it?
There's the interview you're scheduled for down at the London Metropolitan Police. This is Anna Kiswani, secretary. We've had to reschedule it. Can you come in right now?
It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, I know. There's no other available times, and I know this is hard, but we can't do a late afternoon for this. I've been instructed to call every one of the applicants. So far, we only have one cancel. Can we count on you coming in? Is it possible?
Sure. I will be there in 45 minutes.
I'm really sorry for this. If I could, I would let you sleep in and do it in the afternoon as ordinary, but
It's no problem. I will be there. Thank you. And I hang up. goes out of bed with a deep sigh. I'm fucking hangover and I need to take a quick shower and drink something that is not full of alcohol.
What do you have in your fridge that is not full of alcohol?
I open it and it's super empty because, you know, I'm never home. So there is maybe there is a Red Bull. So I take that and drink it. And then I just rush into the shower and like, okay, do this quickly and put my clothes on. Everyday work clothes, black jeans, white shirt, my leather jacket. That is like not too shabby, but not too formal either. And my ID patch, of course, and my gun and everything that I need for like going to work. A quick look in the mirror. It's like they will never call me a lady. But like I look okay. And then I go out through the door and goes to my car.
So where do you live? South of London?
I live somewhere near work. That's as near as I could afford.
The apartment, fairly small, quite shitty, because even on an okay police wage, it's hard to afford housing in London. It's terribly expensive. So when you lock the door and walk down into the street, were there any routines at all that were disturbed by this early morning call? Was there anyone you were supposed to meet? Or?
No.
What were you supposed to do for the morning? What were your plans?
Was the interview was scheduled in the
for the afternoon.
Yeah, so then I would have got into my desk. I would have checked my regular work if there's something that can't wait, if there's something that come in. But all my colleagues know that I will be out off this afternoon, so I won't be going out somewhere or like taking any meetings. So this day was actually meant to be the day where I could sit at my desk and stare at my fucking computer and like catch up on the paperwork, which is amazingly boring. But that was my plan.
Yeah, a day of procrastination, glorious procrastination, has been sacrificed to the career gods.
Yes.
But at least you beat rush traffic, which is a good thing in central London. The Metropolitan Police Department's Centre of Operations is located on the opposite side of Tate Gallery. It's close to the City of London and Westminster, and it's in the white, regal, governmental district of London, where every building has the same whitewashed facades of might and imperial solidity. But it's in the outskirts of it. So these buildings were built in the 60s and 70s and attempting to imitate the style of the grandeur of the Mayfair buildings. This one has seen better days, but the offices are brightly lit by tall windows. The ceilings are high, and the appointments still regal. But the work that goes on in there could be, at first glance, be office work of any kind. Computers, people rushing back and forth, Starbucks mugs, stress and concentration in the air, a small hysterical high-pitched laughter somewhere. The elevators to the meeting room are on the opposite end of the office floor.
So there is people here, even though it's so early.
Yeah, there's people.
Is it still dark outside?
As you pull up the car outside, before you enter into the big office room, you notice that the red line of the sun is pretty timed to your appearance. It's early dawn, and the sun leaves a blood red streak across the Thames, and then it glitters a bit in the Shard up to the north. So as across the floor of the busy police operations room, where yes, it's unusually early, but people are still, either still up pulling an all-nighter or having been called in early. There's a group of people gathered around a set of 3 monitors, pointing and looking at what seems to be some sort of accounting. It's spreadsheets.
Can I ask a question? This is not my work. This is the place where, like, this is a new place for me. It's not my station.
This is Central Coordination Command. So this is where you run sort of operations in real time. You have forensics right across the street, and some of the higher administrative jobs in the Met are performed here in cubicles in this 5-story complex.
Okay. I look for some kind of reception that I can go to and say, "Hi, I'm here."
Yeah, it's on the other side across through the room. There's 1 or 2 people turn around and look at you. If one of them would remember back to the latest sort of 3-4 years on the force, what kind of cases would they associate you with?
I think Gabrielle is like a climber. She has always been like very ambitious and like almost a cop cliche. Like she really, really cares deeply for her job. She have the jargon, the way she's like tough, no bullshit kind of person that still like has a deep, loyal feeling towards her colleagues and the police force. So I think like she hasn't done the most like media friendly cases. She's been like, I think she's known for being this hardworking cop in homicide that kind of like takes what's thrown at her. And I think her reputation is actually kind of good.
There's 2 of the lower case workers look up at you. One of them runs forward to you with a manila letter in her hand. She stretches out to you and says like, "Okay, you know that info you gave me on that barber parlor down in Croydon, it did check out. It checked out perfectly. Thank you so much for linking me up with that operations team."
That's no problem. My pleasure.
She shakes her hand and gives you the envelope. It's the stuff on that case. It might be too late, but anyway, there you go.
Yeah, I put it in my backpack. I go to the reception and put my arms up on the desk and say, "Hi, my name is Gabrielle Ellis. I'm here for an interview. Someone called me. Can you show me where I'm supposed to be?"
Yeah, they're using the meeting room up on floor 5. It's
Okay.
It's the corner room. It's the Chessman chair conference room. There should be photocopied arrows leading from the elevator.
Sure. Do I need some kind of card or something, or is it just...
No, they're waiting for you. It says NDEDIU on the notes. There should be some other people waiting in the room outside. You can't really miss it.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Then I go there, I guess.
Yeah, the elevator has a cleaner in it with a wagon who steps off at the same time as you, still making the rounds. In the waiting room, there's a tired man in a grey sports jacket, sitting and sleeping with a baseball cap pulled down over his nose. The conference room has frosted glass panes out towards the waiting area and seems to be gradually lighting up with the orange light of morning. It doesn't take long before the door opens and a feisty small woman in her mid-20s, early 30s peers out at you with a almost ear-to-ear smile. Says, "Hi! Are you Gabriella?"
Gabrielle, yes.
Gabrielle? Yes. I'm Anna. I'm conducting the interviews. You got time to pop in?
Yeah, sure. I take my hand out for shaking.
Yeah, she shakes her hand. Sergeant Anna Kitawara is, I guess, a bit shorter than you are, with bright grey eyes and a jumpy walk as she walks into the room, almost struts or dances. She's got a fat early model iPad in her hand, and it seems like she's playing some sort of Farmville or something on it. She sets it down and starts shaking a pile of printed papers into order. The room is completely white, empty, surprisingly modern outfittings for the building. It has a small side table with coffee and tea on it. But that is pretty much it, except for the big conference table and 3 chairs. One straight across from Anna and one slightly behind her.
Yeah, is it okay if I take some coffee first? I kind of rushed here.
I was going to recommend exactly that. So, coffee, tea?
Yeah, coffee please.
She looks at you once and then goes for the entire pitcher of coffee and sets it down in front of you together with a small plastic cup. So I'll cut right to the chase then. I will be conducting the interview, Sergeant Kitawara, and we will be joined by Captain Isaac Khan shortly. First, let me thank you for your service, especially in the trying days just after the London bombings last year. We know that the manhunt that followed touched your career, and you were a part of the greatest operational challenge the Met has ever faced, as dear Sir Ian Blair put it. And it's on grounds of these exemplary merits that you're being considered as a part of the National Domestic Extremism and Disorder Intelligence Unit, as we are merging Specialist Operations Team SO13 with us now to form a new operative unit with extended responsibilities. This unit will still be a part of Metropolitan Police Service Special Operations Group, so the change in your work environment would not be that drastic. As you maybe know, the unit was created in 2004 under the Association of Chief Police Officers in Wales and England. Have you read up on the unit?
Yeah, a bit, but please remind me.
As you know, the purpose of the unit is to directly combat domestic extremism in society. If individuals are believed to be committing crimes or acts of terrorism motivated by extremism, then they are to be found and arrested by this task force. They are meant to provide a report intelligence about domestic extremism and public disorder issues of all kinds. The unit has the purpose of reducing the crime rate across the United Kingdom at large by any legal means necessary, including physical takedowns and continuous surveillance. Do you have any questions on why you have been called to this interview?
Why do you think I would be a good fit for this? Is there something special that I've done?
This is an interesting. Usually that is what we ask you. We are reaching out to you, especially yes. It's mostly because of your long track record with the homicide cases.
Yeah, done a lot of those. Do you want me to answer the question, or how do you do this?
We will get to the questions shortly. A lot of the people who apply for this job come from operational, or they come from intelligence sector, and we are looking for solid case workers. So that's why your name came up on top of the pile, pretty much.
I'm glad.
May I start?
Sure, please.
So please, she presses record on a clunky digital recorder on the side of the lying beside her iPad. So would you please state your full name and date of birth?
Gabrielle Elizabeth Ellis, August 1971.
Place of birth?
Brighton.
Brighton. Good. I have a cousin in Brighton. What's your current position in London Metropolitan Police?
I work as a detective in the homicide department, and I have done that since 1999.
So why do you want to be a part of the National Domestic Extremism and Disorder Intelligence Unit?
I can answer it in two ways, I guess. For me personally, in my career, I feel like it's time to do something else for a while, to switch perspective and get to the next step, if you see what I mean. But then again, I also felt, as you mentioned after the bombings last year, that like this deeper need to be of service to this country and see what I can do to help it, that it won't happen again. You know, all that kind of patriotic things that you feel when you're in the middle of a crisis. But also, I was there, not the first ones that came, but we all was called in to the deaths, and it changed me. It's changed me, how I look at myself and how I look at my profession, I guess. I want to do good. I want to help.
I have a problem taking the subway to work still these days, you know. Yes, I mean, I wasn't there, but I sat in radio operations at the time, so I took a lot of the calls from the people who were.
It was horrible.
It's certainly, things are different. But enough, so could you tell us a little bit about yourself? How would your colleagues describe you?
Oh, officially or unofficially?
Oh, you're among friends here.
No, I think they would describe me as hardworking. When I get into something, I kind of dig deep. Sometimes if I might get too invested in things, so it's good to have someone that kind of can lift the sight a bit. But I really like to try to understand patterns, to sympathize with both victims and the ones that have done it, to become, you know, to kind of see why, because then we can understand the how. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a bit. I'm a bit tired. I think if my colleagues would describe me, they would describe me as hardworking, no bullshit, but also kind of fun, you know. I can hold my drink, I can hold my jokes. I care deeply for my team. I think that is my best quality. No one has ever complained about my leadership skills. The team is my family, and they always will be.
As you talk about your obsession with work, the door opens behind you, and the tail end of your last sentence, you see in the periphery of your vision a tall gentleman in a brown, well-tailored suit who takes the last seat. He's an imposing gentleman, maybe at least 190 tall, with a bright orange turban and the well-manicured beard of a Sikh gentleman. He steps out to the table and holds out a sizable fist at you and opening it with a reserved smile.
I take the hand and shakes it. Nice to meet you, sir.
He nods and grunts out his name. Isaac Khan, please meet you. I'll just be listening. No, don't mind me, missus. He sits back. I'm sorry for being late, by the way. That's rude of me. Please continue. He sits down and opens a laptop on his knee and looks at you intently as the questions keep coming. So what would you say is your greatest weakness?
It's Miss, by the way. I'm not married. Just, I don't know if it's important, but...
Oh, but it is, and I apologize.
Miss Ellis. Oh, Gabrielle. I prefer Gabrielle. I'm sorry, what were you asking?
Anna smiles and Khan looks visibly embarrassed about his faux pas. So, I was asking, skill-wise, or what would you say was your greatest weakness?
That's a trick question, isn't it? I think that, as I mentioned before, sometimes I dig myself down too deep and have a trouble to let go of cases that some cases we can't solve, some people we can't help. That kind of bugs me. Kind of a cliche, right? Like the too caring cop.
Not at all. No, not at all, but generally, if I can be candid, an answer like that usually hides something. And we're not here to establish a psychological profile. We're merely here to see what positions you would be most suited for. But let me ask you this instead. What's your greatest strength? Are you the fastest runner, or is that your dogged commitment? Is that also your greatest strength?
I look at her and I'm a bit uneasy. Like, I don't really like to talk about myself in that way. And I knew this was coming. I knew it because it's like, it's an interview, it's a work interview, it's supposed to be nice, and you're supposed to be selling yourself, and it makes me super uncomfortable. And I'm so aware that I am talking in cliches. And I'm trying to think of what can I say so I don't sound like a total idiot. And I just take a sip of coffee to get some time and some pause, and then like, okay, my greatest strength. I think I'm a damn good cop, actually. I'm very good at what I'm doing. I have this talent of getting people to trust me and like me that I work with. And that, of course, helps when you are doing this kind of work. Does it make sense?
It does. And it also seems like you should take a vacation sometimes, girlfriend. But yes.
Yeah, sure.
This is a great place to fill out your first dots.
Yes.
So she pushes a sheet towards you. This says like, would this fit with your test scores? So the first thing we're going to do is to define what ability you have your highest score in.
I think that I'm aiming for some kind of cop cliche, but like with a twist that is actually played by someone female. I want to play this honest cop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With a drinking problem and but like deeply caring for the ones that matters to her. But I like, as a player, I never play this, brawl, shooting, athletic types. I'm always like the manipulative, funny person, or like the trickster. So I'm thinking I'm not going to be that this time. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I will fall into it.
Yeah, no. And of course, I mean, you're going to do a fair bit of investigation and interrogating the people anyways. But yes, the career cop with no life and who sort of... I think, yes, it's a cliche for a reason. I do think there are people like that.
Yeah, but I love cliches. I'm never afraid of cliches because you can build on that, because then you have like a foundation to start on, and then you can like drag in the sad childhood or the failed marriage or whatever you want to like build into it. So let's go with the lonesome cop that loves or like are obsessed with her work kind of cliche. See where it goes.
Because also, yes, I absolutely agree with you, and also like no cliches survives contact with actual play.
No.
That is true. So would it then be something like stamina, like her best ability?
Yeah,
maybe?
I think dexterity and stamina. Like I think she has most of her dots in physical. I don't know how the system works. Is it?
So you take, what is your greatest strength? The answer to that question is 4 dots. So you put 4 dots in whatever attribute.
Maybe stamina, like she can obviously work all night, then drink all night and still get up and like do not completely a fool of herself in an interview. So I will put my 4 dots in stamina.
Great. You're resilient as hell.
Woohoo!
And then your greatest weakness, this would be your 1 dot. Because as you know, 2 dots is like the normal. That's standard. So you're going to have one thing that you're weak at, like actively weak at.
But it doesn't have to be in physical, or is it
Nope,
social?
It can be in any category.
I
category
think
whatsoever.
Manipulation. I think this character sucks in manipulation.
The manipulation is 1.
Yeah. I think she's an honest person that doesn't like to lie. Or is very bad at it.
It can be both. So Anna looks at the rest of the test scores. It's like, yeah, okay, your statements seem to fit with your test scores. How about these other ones? Do you think they accurately describe your mental and physical capabilities? So this is where we take the rest of the abilities, or rather, rest of the attributes. So you take 3 attributes at 3. These are the ones that you are good at. You can just put them out. You're going to have plenty of opportunity for character descriptors later on.
I always get super anxious with this. I was like, I'm going to choose wrong.
If you want to talk through the thought process, you are most welcome. And also ask me for advice and so like what you use this for or that for.
I think I'm going to do like this because 2 dots isn't completely useless, right?
No, not completely useless, but it's medium. Yeah, 3 is good. 4 is outstanding. That is like, yeah, legendary. 5 is the human maximum that you can possibly achieve. So
I put 3 in strength because I try to play this fit character. I put 3 in charisma. Maybe she has some charm, and then I put 3 in wits.
Great.
I don't really know what resolve is for.
So the rest are going to be 2 in the remaining 4. So composure and resolve, those are 2 stats that you might not be familiar with.
Yeah.
Resolve is your mental fortitude. It's like for how long you can mentally concentrate or like keep your mind on something. Whereas composure is your social face game. It's like not letting what you feel affect what you do. So that's your social stamina.
Yeah. I think maybe 2 in charisma then and 3 in composure.
Cool. Yeah, that seems to fit with the type.
And 2 in dexterity and 3 in strength. I think this is done.
She looks at your comments on the test scores and says, yeah, it looks like it's not that you have been to 1 or 2 tests. So yeah, this seems to accurately reflect it. Now, let me change tracks a little bit. What is your greatest fear?
Why are you asking that?
I'm not deciding the questions. They're written down for me. Isaac looks up and looks at you. Please just answer the questions.
I don't think like that. You know, having my kind of job, you face death every day. Other people dying or risk for myself. So I don't know. I haven't thought about that in a very long time. And it's not that I'm without fears. I'm no Übermensch. I just don't I don't like to think about being afraid. Maybe that is like, I don't like to be weak. I don't like to don't have any possibility to affect my own situation, if you know what I'm getting at. So maybe my greatest fear is like being weak, I guess.
Isaac nods. Anna continues. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Maybe in a better apartment. Now it would be nice to have a bump in pay grade and also bump in responsibility. Maybe some kind of leading position, not just being one of the ones on the floor.
You're looking for some sort of commanding officer capabilities?
Yeah, that would be nice. I think I would be good at it.
Yeah, and speaking of this, what did you like the most about your prior job at the Met in Homicide?
Solving things. When it clicks, when you finally get it, when you know that this is it, now we have it, now we have him. That is the best feeling in the world.
And conversely, what did you like the least about your job?
Failing, I guess. Sometimes you do fail, or you just have to give up a case that you just can't solve. I don't like that. I don't like letting things go.
The solve rate on homicides is a bit of a gamble, and I can see how that brings emotional investment. So
also men, I'm sorry to say, but they are the worst, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing that I think people in all sectors can agree on. But so did you work with someone that was especially bad?
No, I meant the ones doing the deeds that we investigate. They are usually men. I have nothing against men in general. I love men. Great people. Love many of them. But you know, they also do the most horrendous things to women. Yeah, it's not like I'm like one of these radical feminists or anything. Like this is what I see every day.
Yeah, Isaac looks at you and comments, your observation, of course, is statistically absolutely correct. And I don't see why we would put any value judgments into that specifically. Thank you. Anna continues. So, what skills have you learned during your professional life? And this, of course, is where we grab the skills.
Woo! Can I have dots in everything? No.
No, you cannot. This time around, we explore character building a little bit differently. We just don't throw out dots according to a cost. Rather, we go through a number of stages, beginning with professional skills.
Yes.
So, your professional skills give you 2 skills at 3 dots and 2 skills at 2 dots. So, and in the sample profession packages, we have investigator, for instance, or veteran. So, the ideas, of course, this is completely up to you to decide. The ideas for how you would build an investigator would be investigation, insight, awareness, brawl, or firearms. That's sort of a basic professional package for a cop. So yeah, 2 skills at 3 dots and 2 skills at 2 dots.
I'm gonna be good at shooting.
Yeah, cool.
People that know me, that listen to this, knows that I'm never good at shooting. So this I will be this time. I think I will have 3 in investigation and 3 in firearms, 2 in awareness.
Yeah.
And what was the...
Insight is the last one. Awareness is like situational awareness and, you know, spotting things that are off and so on. Whereas insight is kind of the same thing, but with people.
Yeah. Yeah, that is nice. I'm thinking brawl as the third one. That is kind of nifty, right?
Yes. So switch out insight for brawl.
No, 2 in insight, 2 in awareness, and 2 in brawl. It was 3 with 2, right?
No, 2 skills at 2
and
my 2
God,
skills
no.
at 3. You're gonna be able to pick up brawl later.
Okay, insight and awareness.
Great.
I hate this. I get so anxious. It's like, what if I'm doing my character wrong?
Your build made a broken build. You're never gonna survive.
I've done it before, you know, built a character and then like, why did I spend so much on this performance that I never use?
Yeah,
it's
that does happen. Yeah, but we will do investigative scenarios, so I do think there's like, it's quite easy to guess what's going to come up. And even though I am a hard and brutal storyteller, I do think that the dots are not at all as important as you think. But yes, what would you say is your biggest triumph, and what did you learn from that specific event?
My biggest triumph? I think actually, and you might judge me now, but actually graduating from the academy. I had a bit of a rough time there. I was young, I was hot-headed, and got into some trouble, and it was a bit of a mess. I was a bit of a mess. So actually graduating from the academy with that it didn't throw me out. I'm sorry to say. Maybe that will reflect badly on me, but it was what happened.
No, I mean the reports are here. It's not that you can hide anything from us. I mean the reports from your academy days are here. So yes, despite great adversity and great personal problems, you managed to make it. So the question is then, what skills did you learn from this? So what reports is it that she's reading? Is it like, did you have a dysfunctional relationship at the time? Were you like doing drugs or too much drinking, or did you get into fights?
I think I got into fights.
Yeah, all of these things can teach us things. You got into a lot of trouble in the academy. So that would be brawl?
I think she had trouble like keeping her mouth shut a lot.
Yeah.
And also some fighting. And I think there was a lot of, trying to prove yourself somehow that you had the right to be there and not being able to shut up when you should. So brawl, yes. 1 dot or...
No, this life event, one event taught you a skill at 3 dots.
Ooh.
And another event taught you a skill at 2 dots.
Woohoo.
And the question for that, of course, here it comes again, one of those horrible questions that you absolutely loathe. What's your greatest failure, and what did you learn from that?
Takes a sip of coffee again. Don't you have it in your report? Or do you want me to tell you something personal?
I just would like you to say it for the record.
I had a brother. He committed suicide. And I couldn't change him or save him or make him better.
He was a troubled man, yes.
Actually, I don't know. He never told me. And I thought our relationship was great, but apparently it wasn't.
She reaches out a hand and briefly touches yours, and then looks back to the notes. So, this failure to shepherd your troubled brother through life, what did that teach you?
That life is short? I don't know.
Your attempts must have taught you something. So speaking now on the narrative level, it could of course have taught you different kinds of interpersonal skills or insight and so on, even though you didn't manage to use it in time. Or perhaps you learned something about psychology and so on in taking care of your brother. Or what do you think?
Maybe he was some kind of early internet kid. So maybe I learned stuff about technology because I wanted to follow his trace. Why? To like go into his computer and try to understand this internet thing. I'm thinking this was in the 90s, of course. So maybe something in technology, like it got her into technology.
Yeah, and this could be something that that shaped you for a few years in following all his traces and all his MSN conversations and all of those things. It's quite a tragic part of your life. And yeah, I think that's great. I think it's a super good idea because it gives us both a painful memory and a reason for being a little bit of an early adopter in technology. So 2 dots on technology and a good story.
And the name for the brother. So her name is Gabrielle. So what could you name a brother to? Gabrielle and...
I mean, Michael.
He could be named Michael. Michael is fine. Michael Ellis.
So that means that your life event skills was Brawling 3 from the trouble in the academy and Technology 2 from trying to understand your dead internet brother. So, for something lighter, what do you do in your free time?
I stare at her and I really can't figure out what to say. Not because I work all the time, but like it's not appropriate to say what I do. So I pause for a while and then I say, I really like going to the movies.
But in actual reality.
I think drinking and fucking.
Drinking and fucking.
But you can't say that on your interview, right?
You absolutely cannot. But this is something that is what you mean when you say that you go to movies a lot.
Yes.
What skills would drinking and fucking give you?
I think maybe streetwise.
Yep. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. Streetwise.
Yep.
How many?
You're gonna have a few of these. These are 1-dotters, all of them. These are things you dabble in. So there's gonna be like 4 of them, I think.
For this drinking and fucking?
3 leisure skills on 1 dot each.
Okay, I think persuasion maybe is... I don't know if it's a stretch, but like if you're gonna fuck a lot, you need to persuade people to fuck you or fuck with you.
I mean, you need to have a method somehow. Or I mean, what's your what do you do? Do you probably chat up people in bars, or I mean, unless you play the guitar, that's a classic.
No guitar playing, I think. But Martin, do you know the other guys that I'm gonna play with? Are they like? Will they be embarrassed if I say drinking and fucking while we play?
No, they will not. No, they will not.
Okay,
they
good.
Absolutely will not. That is no problem in the whole world. There's no dearth of of sensitive themes in their characters. Let's just say that. They're of the cult school, Anna-Karin.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
So maybe I'm the white lamp here. Like, am I going too soft?
No. I think it's good having like a solid fucking and drinking cop in the team.
Yeah, me too. But I don't know them, so I have not listened to their characters. So I have no idea what they have created.
No, you'll see. You'll meet them. You will meet them. You're gonna match well. You're gonna be sort of the gregarious and like awesome one. And they have. One is a bit quieter, like a bit social reject character type, lives in mommy's basement.
Oh my god!
Kind of. So there's the coroner, nerdy character with some like social problems, and then there's the 8 kids, family man, career military intelligence dude. It's been like in exchange with American places and so on. Or you're gonna love to hate him probably.
Yeah, probably.
And he's like super religious, bit of a bigot. So he's a really interesting character. Super, and like he showed it was like super nice rolling that one up because he has good ideas on where to take it. I think.
Yep.
Drinking and fucking won't raise an eyebrow.
Okay,
I think.
great.
Cool, so let us get back to the character creation. Persuasion, streetwise, and what else?
I think maybe lying.
That's subterfuge then. A little bit of subterfuge.
It's good to have some.
Nice. I mean, you could of course have chosen etiquette if you choose to be, a fine dining pickup person, but it seems much more of a pub crawler.
Yes.
Than anything else. Cool.
But now I have nothing in stealth or survival, so I'm like...
No, survival that's in the wilds. Survival that's tracking and those sort of things. And stealth, I mean, you're not really...
a stealthy person.
You're not a SWAT person or anything like that, so it makes perfect sense.
Is it one more left?
You have 3 of the 1-dotters.
Okay.
Cool. And then finally, to round off the skills, you're gonna get a couple of free picks where you sort of like get to take those skills that you've had your eye on all the time. So there you can choose. Either you can grab a specialist skill, meaning you take 1 skill at 4 dots.
Ooh.
And you can of course change that out for one of the professional skills you already have and like boost it up to 4. And take something else for what you have. Or you can do generalist, which is 2 more skills at 2 dots and 4 more skills at 1 dot.
Woo!
So then you can do a little bit of everything.
But if I choose a specialization, I can't choose any more dots. That's it.
No, if you choose specialist, you're gonna get 1 more skill at a whopping 4 dots, which is that's peak performance.
I already know that this character can drive. So I'm gonna go with 2 in drive. That's good, right?
Yep.
I need 2 in leadership. And then it's 4 in 1.
Then there is 4 skills at level 1. So 4 different more skills.
Yeah, okay. Then I will pick 1 in athletics, 1 in maybe I can be scary. I will pick 1 in intimidation. I will do 1 in larceny. I don't know why, but it's fun. And I will do... Maybe I have some basic, first aid knowledge. So I pick 1 in medicine as well. Alright. I think I'm done.
So, That pretty much describes any other skills or capabilities we should be aware of, yes. So, for my next question, I would like you to describe your contact network. Do you have any personal or professional contacts that may aid or impair your service to special operations, or any habits or conditions that we should be aware of?
I have been working in London as a cop and a detective for almost 10 years now. So I know almost everybody on the force. They know I will help them if they help me. But I also know of people going, the other side of the fence somehow.
This is a good place to choose your advantages and disadvantages. And I'm super happy that you mentioned that you could have criminal contacts, because that is very plausible, of course, that you know who is who.
Yeah.
Also in the underground. So let's define that a bit. So for backgrounds, that could be, there are two types of people-related backgrounds. One is called allies, meaning this is a person you could call in the middle of the night and they would do something for you. The other is contacts, that's knowing people.
I think I should have both allies and contacts, maybe.
Mm-hmm. So you have a total of 7 dots to distribute in advantages, and you have 2 dots of disadvantages.
So is it like merits and flaws as well?
Yes, this is the whole merits and flaws.
Then I think you have to guide me through it.
I will guide you through it. So, and also we've condensed a lot of them, so there's not as many of them anymore, but they have like greater flexibility. So there's allies and enemies, there's contacts, there's fame, there's influence. I'm now going through the ones that are pickable by mortals.
Do I need something in resources or something? Like, she doesn't own much. She has like an apartment.
That's a 1. That's a typical 1 resources. 0 resources, you're literally on the street, so.
Allies, contacts, fame, resources, and I had 7. What is something more that I...
Yeah, you could have linguistics. You could have looks. Which is an advantage these days.
Like you're super
hot.
Oh my god. No, that's not the character I'm playing right now.
No. Nope.
Sometimes it's super important to be hot, but it's not this character.
No, it's not what I saw either. There's substance use. There's like, do you have any addictions?
Yes.
You're alcoholic.
I don't know. Alcoholic is such a harsh word, Martin.
Yes, okay. Maybe you're even a high-functioning addict.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think she thinks she drinks to relax.
High-functioning addict is actually a merit.
No.
So that's going to cost you a merit point. Yes, it is.
Then I won't take that.
You can have an addiction, which is like you have a problematic addiction. That's a 1 dot flaw. So that's one of your two flaws.
What is more fun? Alcohol or sex?
Ooh.
Like, I'm not meaning in a general way, but as a flaw.
If you want to play against stereotypes, female sex addict, heavy drinking person, can work. I think you can make it work.
Yeah. I will put sex there because it's fun. And
yeah.
I put 3 in allies, 2 in contacts, 1 in fame, and 1 in resources. Make sense?
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
And then we need a second flaw.
Yes.
Overconfident. That's a fun flaw, right?
Yeah, it is. It's not something that is that we have formalized in the game. What we could say is, if you're overconfident, could this have led you into conflict with anyone? So like, have you screwed with the wrong guy in an investigation?
Sure.
It's like, is there a criminal person? It's like, no, I'm a white collar criminal. I'm above the police, but you've still sort of poked and investigated.
Yeah, sure.
maybe.
I can have an enemy.
Great.
I love enemies.
That's a negative ally. So who is this person?
Maybe some mob, or like, it's fun if it's organized crime somehow.
Okay, we could we go for somebody who's in sort of on the administrative or white collar side of things, like a money launderer.
Yeah.
A dirty banker.
Yeah.
Would be fun. I would love to add a dirty banker to the roster.
Always dirty bankers.
Very London. very London also. So yeah, cool. It's a so who is this person? If we quickly describe him or her to us.
I think this dirty banker is doing a lot of housing or like...
Yes, property. He's doing property. That's how he cleans money. Yeah.
Maybe it's even like some kind of official person. Like it could be a politician as well.
It's a civil servant.
Yeah.
It's a high-ranking civil servant. Yeah. Who's doing... it's a slumlord, basically.
Yeah.
Buying up apartments and being a part of the whole dirty gentrification game in the south edges of London.
Yeah, and I think it's a he, and that we kind of stumbled upon him in an investigation, and he got free. Like we couldn't nail him on anything, and he wasn't our main. Like we wanted to catch some other guy, some killer, but he kind of got drawn into this investigation, and we like passed him on to another investigation that was investigating him, and I think we had maybe a fight, or like not a fight with fists, but maybe with words. Like he knows who I am. Great.
Yeah, he's probably written then, had the interviews done and so on, how he's been wrongfully harassed and so on by the police.
Yeah, probably.
It's just one of these like, can the police actually go into my personal business in this way?
Yeah.
Great. That's good. He gets you riled up.
Yeah.
So then we for that we say that's one daughter there.
Yeah.
So what's his name?
George. Could he be like a bit of a noble person? Like could he have one of these ridiculous British names? No offense, Brits.
I say, steady on.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're looking for something like Sutherford.
Or like
that.
the third. Fnifnirk the third.
Ooh, okay. I have a few ideas here. Google gives me stuff.
That's good.
I mean, there's Miles Lade the Third.
Lade?
It's a double name. So it's Miles. It's spelled with Milles. Mills Lade, who's a Lade with a hyphen between it. So it's the Mills Lade. So it's George Mills Lade the Third.
That is excellent. Old money, new career, dirty as hell.
Great. There was the most famous person in the line was Henry George Herbert Mills Lade, the 5th Earl of Saunders.
Yeah.
Who died in 96. So that's probably dad or something. So that is your enemy.
Maybe I don't know he's my enemy. Like, I have probably forgotten him. Like, he was a douchebag that I meet a lot of douchebags. But maybe he hasn't forgotten me. Da-da-da.
Nothing is forgotten.
No.
And Anna listens to you briefly reporting on your connections within the police and your wealth of criminal contacts that could be used for investigations. She notes down a few things that were apparently not in the paperwork and looks up to you again. So, what do you believe in, principle-wise? I mean, so like what values motivate you to do the things you do? More specifically, Khan speaks again. This time he asks the one question in the interviews. Only one question. That's all that comes out of your commanding officer's mouth. And that question is, do you believe in God? The one God?
I haven't thought about that in many years. I guess, like, I go to church sometimes. I like the, midnight mass in Christmas, but I haven't thought about God in a long time,
Yeah, good. That's a great start. Thank you, sir. So, if you would describe your principles, what would the moral foundation for you be? And here we approach the morality system of vampire for a moment. So this is a new feature, which are called convictions. So you get to choose between 1 to 3 like strong moral convictions that your character has. And these convictions allow you to get away with stuff that you wouldn't otherwise. Things that would, to speak plainly, lower your humanity or have a risk to put a stain on your humanity can be excused because of your principles. So if you would be, say, a hyper-believing Catholic crusader, maybe, if you would kill an enemy of the church, I mean, somebody who's like clearly burning down churches or so on, you get to get some time alone with a Norwegian black metal guy who's burned down churches, and you go across the line and you actually kill him. That would lessen the impact of the stain on you. So examples are the good things are things that are either very clear principles or are formulated with always or never, like thou shalt not kill, or always obey authority, or my country right or wrong. These kinds of like strong beliefs.
And how many do you want?
You get to choose between 1 and 3.
Yeah. Protect the team. I think protect the ones that you care about as a core principle for this character.
Yeah, so it's always protect. I think it's really good to narrow it to what you consider to be family, which is, your unit.
Yeah.
Always protect your unit. Great. Any others?
Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble with like saying that like truth is always more important than convenience. There's something like plain spoken about your character, which I like. Yeah. There's a sort of a straight shooting fiber there that can probably get you into trouble as well.
I'm thinking that, and I'm also thinking something in the line of this goes for others but not me. If you understand what I mean. Like I kind of like there is something shady about this character that is about morals in some way. Like I can get away with stuff that I will held others against.
Ooh, yeah. There's a little bit of I am the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's like because you are but if you have that police elitism of seeing yourself as a breed apart.
Yeah.
That you are like I'm a watchdog. Yeah. I'm not a sheep.
Yeah.
Means that you have and that how could we summarize that? We could say justice is more important than due process. Maybe
but it's about egoism, it's about selfishness, it's about me being better than others somehow. It's not me, it's you. I don't know.
I mean, that would be a very useful conviction. Everything I do is right, and everything you do is wrong. But you could say that, what is the specific thing that you think that you can do that others cannot?
I think it has to be something right, I think, like, seeing things clearly or seeing them as they are somehow, being like I'm just being realistic kind of thinking.
It's a sort of you want some sort of hard pragmatism.
Yeah, I think so. But also like that makes you like I can berate you for drinking before going to work while being drinking the whole night because I can handle it, you can't, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's like no one can tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to
like,
do. Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do. There's like one of the examples of beliefs is none may control me. And it's a thing, it's like you react badly to that kind of authority, of judgment and so on.
Yeah, then we have the 3.
Okay, so list them for me.
Always protect your unit or your family. Truth is better than convenience, or truth is more worth, maybe. And don't tell me what to do. Simple.
Great. And who are the 3 people closest to you right now in life? I've seen you left your next of kin open here. Who would we contact in case of an emergency?
I guess my mom. She's still lives in Brighton. We talk sometimes. My boss in my old work, someone that I really trust, and yeah, I guess that's really depressing, right? Like I don't say I have this best friend or my boyfriend or anything, but
no, this is purely for convenience purposes. You know, we need to keep track of next of kin simply. So yes, it's
my mom then.
Your mom, and then you said Commander Wilkins.
Yes.
At your last job, yes, and that's pretty much it. Yes.
Yes.
I see. So, could you describe a time you did not get along with a coworker?
Well, it's been bugging me for some time, you know, when you have one in the team that doesn't commit like you're supposed to, and so I have one in my team now that we get into constant arguments about things.
Tell me about the last argument. Who is this person?
But the last argument was totally worthless. It was about making coffee or not. Like, if you take the last coffee, do you see to that there is coffee to make more another batch so that the next person that goes into the kitchen gets some fucking coffee? You know what I mean? Like, it's the worst when like you don't have time for things. You just need your coffee to get going, and then some douchebag had taken the last coffee and you don't have time to make new. Like, it's basic principles, right? You put on coffee. If you take the last coffee, we drink coffee all the time, you know?
Yes, I mean, it's a question of solidarity, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah? Yes, solidarity and consideration, that you think of something other than yourself, basically.
So what happened?
I got snippy with him. He didn't take it too well. We had a fight in the kitchen.
As in a physical altercation?
No, maybe more like a shouting match, but you know, people came in and, you know, took us apart. I just don't like that kind of. I don't think he's a good cop either. He's sloppy.
I completely understand. Thank you for answering the questions so well. For our final part of this interview, I would like you to associate freely when I say these words. Please express yourself in a single word in response to the words that I will say now. Are you ready?
I guess.
Gun.
Mine.
Needle.
Prick.
Collateral.
Shards.
Extremism.
Double.
Hackney.
City.
Thermite.
Wood.
Blood.
Flood.
Sanctuary.
Church.
Kindred.
Family.
Anna closes the file, presses the off button on the recording. Isaac Singh has watched you intently over especially the last part of the interview, never taking his grey, solid eyes off you. Now he rises, walks forward towards you, and presses your hand again. You will report to me directly. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Does it mean I got the job?
You will report directly to me, and you will start Monday.
Thank you, sir. I'm really glad.
Yes, we'll destroy the tape. This interview is to establish a number of base facts. The sun is quite high in the sky now. It's been almost an hour. It's beaming in. It's the god's eternal proton rain reflecting off his brown skin, off the white table, making his eyes bright. We see a record. We think you can be a valuable addition to an investigation. Will you be ready to move your desk on Monday?
Sure, yes sir, I will. I'm ready.
Then I expect to see you here bright and early, first thing. He touches your shoulder briefly, takes his bag over his shoulder, and exits the door.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the chronicle No Man is an Island for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Our storyteller was Martin Eriksson, and we were also joined by Anna-Karin Linder. The music was created by Lola Zaza for the game Vampire Prelude, We Eat Blood and All Our Friends Are Dead, and was used with permission from White Wolf. The sound effects are from the fine folks at freesound.org. Finally, a big thank you to our patrons. This podcast would not be possible without your generous support on Patreon. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And remember, death is not the end.